Welcome. And I feel so energized in this moment to talk to those of you who just feel like you're going through the motions each day. If that's you, I need you to hear me today because I want you to shake off the cobwebs and start thinking about your future. I look around and I see so many people who are just existing. And that's just not why we're here on this earth. We are here to make a difference. If I were to ask you right now, if you feel like you are making an impact with your life in the way that you really, really know that you could be, what would you say? I have a message for you today that can change your future. And the great news is that it's not complicated. But what I'm going to tell you does take some intention. So if you have the desire to just shake things up and to do something different, you're going to want to hear this. In order for you to achieve your highest potential and do the things that really matter to you, listen to this carefully. You have to start today. What you do today, in this moment, in the next 24 hours, is crucial to where you will be a week, a month, a year, 5, 10, 20 years from now. Every single day that goes by and you just put your priorities to the side is another day that separates you from your future. But the good news is that you are in control of you, which means that you can control the outcome of where you are headed. I want to share a few ideas that will help you practically start doing something today that will move you closer to where you want to be. So let's talk about what's the first thing. If you're just going through the motions today and this has got your attention, there's something that you need to start with in order to start making each day count. And the first thing is making a quality decision. And you might think, well, what do you mean by quality decision? We all make decisions every day. Like we make them about a lot of different things, what we're going to eat, where we're going to go, who we're going to spend time with, things like that. And we change our mind about a lot of decisions we make, and they just kind of come and go throughout our day. But a quality decision is different. A quality decision is where you have no retreat. It means you put weight into that decision. It's an intentional decision. It's something that you decide that you are committing to go forward with, and that there is no way that you are going to change your mind on this decision. So it's a very, very important decision. It's easy to make decisions when we are in the heat of the moment, but important quality decisions are made not at the height of our emotions or in a temporary situation where we just find ourselves in the extremes of emotion and circumstance. Quality decisions are made before that happens. They're made before we have to make a decision. So they're very well thought out and intentioned decisions. Most people, I like this quote, most people don't lead their own lives. They accept their lives. That's John Cotter who said that. And I like that quote a lot because it just goes, it speaks to the fact that we need to be intentional about our decisions and how we live our lives. If we're just accepting what comes in our lives every day and the ebbs and flows, and we don't live with intention, we kind of get what we get. That's what that says to me. Good decisions today will give you a better tomorrow. Remember that. This is all about today. I think back to when I was single parenting. One quality decision that I made at that time was to be committed to put my daughter first. It was just me and her at that period of time in my life. And I decided that, and again, this was my own decision. I'm not suggesting this for somebody else, but for me, I put dating aside. I didn't want to just be distracted with other things. I really wanted to make sure that I was giving her my attention because I had to work full time to be able to pay our bills and to be able to have a place to live and eat and all those things. So I wanted to make sure my spare time was really focused on her. And I also, in that moment, through that quality decision, made sure that my job lined up with having spare time to spend with her. So I wasn't working weekends and crazy evening hours. And I know sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we have to do things for a season. But for me personally, I sought out work that I did not have to do that. That was my quality decision in that moment. And it served me so well. I'm so grateful for that decision because today I have an incredible daughter that I have a great relationship with. And so it was very, very fruitful and beneficial for me to have that quality decision and see the results of that. So what's a quality decision for you? Think about that. Is it to learn a new skill? Maybe you want to be journaling and you just simply want to commit to make a quality decision to journal every day or spend more focused family time. Maybe start a business. What about becoming a speaker? Those are all quality decisions that can be made if that's important to you and that's something that you really want to pursue and know that that's something that will change your life. So make that decision once and for all. That's the first thing. So what happens then? Now you've made a decision, a quality decision. Now it's important to put action behind that decision. And this may seem so simple, what I'm telling you today, but I see so many people miss the mark on these foundational, simple pieces to create some change in their life. You just need to get started. I can't tell you how many times I've made a decision myself. I'm speaking from experience here, and then sat on that decision. So I've made a decision. Okay, great. It's a quality decision. But if I don't do anything with that decision, it just sits in my head or sits on my calendar. Trust me, I have put lots of quality decisions into my calendar and then not done anything with them. That isn't helping the matter at all. So I had to take those things and I had to get started. I'm just sharing my own story here. I hope this is helping somebody. But for me, I had to start earlier in my day. I had to kind of shift my calendar around. I had to shift some priorities around. And I realized that I was kind of always behind the eight ball. I had to kind of take a proactive approach. And I found that by doing that, it really increased my chances for success. It doesn't require talent or special skills or experience or anything like that. It does not require any of those things or special gifts. To make these kinds of changes in your life requires the right attitude and intent. Everybody has those abilities should you choose to step into them. So I want to point that out because this is not reserved for a special group of people. You can do these things. If you've never done these things with it and made these kinds of decisions, you can do this. You have the ability. The other thing in terms of getting started is maybe you've created a big quality decision with a big goal attached to it, and it seems rather daunting. I want to encourage you that you can start small. Even with a large goal, starting small, doing something small and intentional every single day will still lead you toward a very big goal. Maybe you want to clean your house, and maybe that can be reflective of a bigger goal. Some of you may have a very big house, and it seems so daunting. You can choose to clean one room. Start with one room. Maybe start with a corner of one room or a drawer in the corner of one room. That's still starting. We're talking about small wins. We're talking about getting started doesn't mean a huge task list to get started. It means doing something that moves you toward the goal that you have. You want to focus on when you get that small win and then focus on the next step. What that does is that builds momentum. So if you want to be the example for others to follow, you have to think about how you're going to lead yourself well today. I'm amazed at how many influencers out there that I see are trying to influence others and not be the example. This is really a big part of what I'm talking about today. This is called walking the walk. So if you want to make a difference and you have grand plans to go out in the world and make a big difference with people, you have to learn to walk the walk. And this is going to help you do that. These simple steps of starting today and making quality decisions and stepping into them and starting now, you are actually going to help yourself influence others by doing it yourself. And it's so easy that way. You don't have to pull people along when you are doing it yourself. Conditions may not be perfect. You may look around and go, until I get a little more time, until my spouse starts acting right, until my kids straighten up, until I get a different job. You need to get until out of your vocabulary in this situation. So what comes next? You've made a quality decision. You've gotten started. Now it's time to choose discipline and not excuses. Decisions help us start, but discipline helps us finish. And I've found, even for myself, self-discipline is great in theory, but so many people are not exercising discipline to accomplish the goals that they have. And this is really where the rubber meets the road. Perseverance and character are what drives you when you make a quality decision. And those things help determine the outcome. So if you're not a highly disciplined person, or you just haven't had that kind of upbringing, this may take a little bit of time. So I don't want you to feel discouraged. Or maybe if you are a disciplined person in some areas, you may not be in others. I really enjoy John Maxwell, if you're familiar with him. And what he says is, what I do in the future depends on what I already am. And what I am is the result of previous years of discipline. And that's so true, right? That is exactly what we're talking about here. John goes on to talk about how he was not disciplined to work out. So this is a very disciplined man. He has written umpteen books. He is a sought after speaker. He's a very, very successful businessman. But in this one area, he did not get disciplined until he was in his 50s. So that can also be the case. But it's important to hone in on something that is going to help you reach your goals. Had he not started paying attention to his health, he may not even be here today to continue his journey. So that was obviously a quality decision for him. I've also always admired the late UCLA basketball coach, John Wooden. He was such a great example of the foundations of leadership and discipline in leading his team to so many record-breaking championships. In fact, I think he was called one of the winningest coaches of all time in the history of basketball. And he talked about, often we place such importance on future goals, but he understood how important it is to pay attention to the details in how to get there. And that meant what is happening every day on the way to those future goals, like starting now. He really spoke of discipline in practice every day. That was one of the absolute baselines for him. For him and his team, it was the fundamentals. And it was what they did every single day. He just never took away that practice time. He never took it for granted. He always understood it was what they did every single day in those practices is what led them to those championships. And he stood out above the rest. So there was just something very amazing about his process. And he quoted this phrase, and I just love this. Maybe you want to write this down and stick it up somewhere. Make each day your masterpiece. I love that. So this today can be a very exciting day for some people after you've heard this very simple message, because this can be the day that you decide to take action on some decisions that you've already made, or maybe making some quality decisions today and following up with a plan on moving them forward. I don't know. Maybe you've already done that, and maybe you've made a little bit of progress. I know that's the case sometimes. Maybe you've made some progress along your journey, but you find yourself in a kind of a stuck place. It's a great day today, not next week, today. Reevaluate and celebrate what you've already done. But today is a new day to think about where you're headed from here. Today, take one more small step forward, just one. I encourage you, if that's all you get out of this message today, is to take one step in a direction that's going to build your future. That's the key. Don't let another day go by without you doing something to move you toward your goals, your vision, and ultimately what you are created to do here. Your future starts now. I hope you've enjoyed this message. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.